A very warm welcome to everyone to this episode of Strengthen, an initiative of CXO Digital Paths. We have introduced with an aim to speak or say spark meaningful conversation. The platform celebrates the resilience and achievements of women, fostering dialogues on the strides made and the journey towards equality and inclusivity. And to discuss on the same lines, we have a very special guest with us, Adishri Charla, who is the Director and Marketing Head for India and South Asia region at UiPath. A very warm welcome, Adishri.
Great. Thank you so much, Pratik. Look forward to the conversation.
So, Adishri, we'll start with a rapid fire round just to understand the person you are, and we would appreciate a prompt responses for this.
Sure.
So, starting with content based marketing or influencer marketing?
So I think content continues to be king. I mean, as a means to engage, to influence, and to convert customers, I think content rules for me.
Okay. And one metrics, if I ask you, you always keep an eye on.
So as a B2B marketer, I think a big priority continues to be business pipeline as well as marketing contribution to the same. So that's business.
The most underrated skill as per you?
Very interesting question. So I think the most underrated skill is actually getting things done. So I think the journey from vision to actualization and execution. I think to be able to make that happen is a soft skill that not everybody has. So that's getting things done is the skill for me.
Okay. You prefer harmony or innovation?
So interesting. So I think while of course we're all gunning for innovation, and that's what keeps us going, moving forward. But I think having that harmony, the collaboration, the communication across the organization, that's what really helps in driving long-term growth and success. So I think a balance of both.
Okay, the last question, more in sync with the reason why we are here today. One is inspiring female.
I think for me, from a very long time, I think the answer would be Indira Nooyi. As commonplace it would be for a lot of leaders at different places in their career. I think her book recently, My Life in Full, I think it inspired me a lot. I read it. I remember reading it during my second pregnancy, and it gave a lot to reflect on and helped me in my journey forward. So it was wonderful.
Okay, great. And now we'll move forward to our main questions, Adishri. So starting with, we understand you have been out and out there in the marketing space, and this space is known for its exposure as well as creativity. And you have spent more than 17 years in this marketing space. So considering the kind of exposure that you got, what have been the main challenges or say biases that you have encountered or observed for that matter, and did it impacted your approach towards your journey?
Yes, it's been a long journey, Pratik. So I think as a woman leader, as an individual, as a professional, I've come a long way. So I think one of the initial biases that you face when you enter the workplace is really just to be heard, to have a seat at the table. As especially in B2B marketing, we work very closely with sales, and like a lot of sales organizations, they tend to be very male dominated. So just to be able to be taken seriously, to get yourself noticed, women a lot of times go unnoticed. So I think that getting that seat on the table is one of the first biases that I think women in the workplace feel. Now, of course, as you grow in your career, you have credibility, you have experience, things change. But I think that's the first important barrier that as women we need to overcome.
Okay. And I would say that's pretty true, and it's been commonly faced by the women out there in the professional world. So, with these challenges, Adishri, as per your perspective,
I'll actually add, Pratik. I think one more thing I would like to mention. I think this conversation would not be complete if I don't mention one more challenge. So that pretty much happens at the initial stages of your career, Pratik. But as I moved along, one more thing I would like to share was, about few years into my career, I got married. And I was actually interviewing at a large technology company. one of the Fortune 500 kinds, and I won't name it. But as part of my interview process, I was actually asked, "You've been married for 3-4 years. If we take you, you will be, you will probably plan a family soon. How, how do you think you will manage your work and your family?" And trust me, at that point of time, my brain tuned off. I felt like the interview for me was over, because uh, I felt completely discriminated against. I think that's something that I would never expect a man to be asked the same question. I think women need to be empowered to make their own decision, do what is right for them at what point of time. If I'm part of an interview, I should not be asked such questions. So I think it that that is a bias at a different point of time. I'm sure a lot of women face, and that's something that I think as organizations we definitely need to address, and to make the workplace more equal, provide that equal opportunity to everyone.
And I think this is a very common issue that many females would have observed. And
Yes.
with this conversation, I recall this one of the advertisement. It was from an apparel brand, where one of the female was appearing for an interview while she was being pregnant.
True,
So I
true,
think one of
true,
the
true.
first question was that, will you inform the
I
interviewers
remember.
about the current situation? And surprisingly, the female was actually taking her interview. So this is one thing which is always at the back of the mind of a female who has either just got married or into family planning, because somehow that aspect is there at the back of their mind when even organizations are hiring, which is for the matter weird, because men obviously don't get asked all these
The same
things.
the question, yeah, and I totally agree. And I remember that I think it's about changing the conversation and changing the dynamic, and I think we so need that.
True. So, with all these challenges and the aspects, so as per you, what actions or policies do you believe should get implemented within the organization to effectively address and overcome these issues?
So, Pratik, I feel that obviously it's a no-brainer that organizations need to recognize that uh, you know uh, I'll break this into two points. I think first is what I mentioned, the seat at the table, to make sure that there is inclusivity in the organization, there is diversity, there is where we create a level playing field for women. So that's a given. And I think along the journey, mentorship would also play an important role, where you kind of coach women who are at different stages of their life to navigate through some of these situations, navigate their career. And in fact, I would say that mentorship is something that I would say for all employees. And I think it becomes extremely important as you want to accelerate your career. The other aspect, which you mentioned, which we mentioned, in the light of when you're later in your career and you maybe probably either have a child, or you're expecting, or all of those things. If you actually look at the numbers, research says that about nearly 70% or more of women drop out of the workplace once they have a child. And out of the people who come back, again, nearly 50% of them drop back. Now, if you look at this, what can organizations do to help? Obviously, the simple answer is provide flexibility, have women have more of a hybrid work culture, where you can kind of, as long as productivity is not impacted, you can work from anywhere. All of those things are given. If you can do a tie-up with a daycare, that's again a huge plus.
Yes.
What I would also like to call out is it's also about extending the conversation beyond this, to say that is it only the woman's role to be asking for that flexibility? It's also about parental flexibility. It's about both partners, stepping up and looking at it as something which is a team sport, right? You have to kind of,
True.
I think organizations need to look at things more holistically in that sense, and that's where we will actually be moving forward, to have that flexibility and that empathy across.
I think that picture needs to be required both from the personal as well as the
Mm.
professional environment, I would say. And in this pursuit of balance, it seems that many a times women contribute significantly because they want to get things balanced. So,
Yeah.
what advice would you give on setting a healthy boundary to ensure a personal well being along with professional satisfaction?
Very interesting. So, Pratik, I think as women, we kind of what we do is there was a quote that kind of went viral some time back, which says that women kind of what is expected is from organizations that women are supposed to be at work like they don't have children, and take care of the children and raise their children like they don't have work. So what happens is that as women, we overcompensate on both sides. So there is obviously the expectation that women have to outperform, even for that matter, work harder than the men to a lot of times just to be noticed, to be seen, to be taken seriously, to have that seat on the table. And at the same time, when we come back home, because we've been away for those number of hours, we obviously try to overcompensate with the family, with the kids and all of that. So who suffers at the end a lot of times is the women themselves, because their own well-being, prioritizing themselves, that doesn't happen. So I would just say, it's important that you kind of draw those boundaries, learn to say no whenever you think you need to, and prioritize yourself. Love yourself. That's very important. It's a happy individual is a happy employee, is a happy person at home, a happy mother, and so on and so forth. So I think that's my 2 cents on that.
And many a times when women are balancing these acts, somehow it also changes the goal sets which they have for themselves and the kind of measures that they have initially kept at the beginning of their journey. So while they evolve during this journey, how do you think they should define success or failure for themselves?
I think so. I think it's failure, success is of course very, very subjective, Pratik, as you would understand. So what is important at the end of it is happiness, is gratitude, and most important is fulfillment. Having a sense of fulfillment, being proud of what you've accomplished, everything. I think as long as you're being true to that, and you're able to add value in whatever constraints and whatever considerations you have, and continuously have a sense of fulfillment, I think that is success, in my understanding.
Okay. And do you think failures derail the focus?
I think failures are setbacks in a way, but I think, but they're also learnings, as we all understand. So I think if you should just pick up the pieces and move forward. And I think the most successful people have so many failures behind them that have been the biggest learning milestones for them. So I think that's the way we should all look at it.
Okay, it's great. And as we have come to the end of the conversation, what message would you give to the aspiring women out there?
So I think what I would say to women out there is really to challenge yourself. You need to step out of your comfort zone, believe in your own abilities. I think sometimes women tend to undermine their own abilities. Put yourself out there, raise your hand for that promotion, raise your hand for that raise your hand for that project, for that, grow your skills. So do all of those things is what I would say. And one more thing I would like to talk about is for women to build strong support systems around themselves. Is as you grow in your career, both in your workplace as well as at home, you need to create support systems, people you can work with, collaborate with, and at home, for that matter, also create those support systems of family, of friends, of help, daycare, all of those things. These are the ones, it takes a village to sometimes be successful, to raise a child, to move forward in life. And I think it's important for us to build those ecosystems, those support systems, those networks around us to move forward. So that's my advice as well. So I just say, just go for it. You're strong, capable, intelligent women. Sky's the limit. And challenge yourself.
Great. Thanks a ton, Adishri, for this conversation. And I'm sure our viewers, specifically women, would feel a lot inspired. And the key message I would say is believe in yourself. And while striking a balance, let's create an ecosystem around us, both at the professional and the personal front, because that's the key to success while we raise our voice.
Absolutely, Pravi. Thank you. This has been great.
Thank you so much.